wives and children. Mohammed bin Laden died when Osama was just 10 years old.
The school was abuzz with the news that Mohammed bin Laden had been killed in a plane crash.
With so many siblings, it's hard to say how close Osama was to his father or how the loss affected him. This photograph from the early 1970s shows some of the many bin Laden brothers and sisters on a vacation in Sweden. Although it's not certain, some believe that this smiling boy, second from the right, is Osama when he was about 13 years old. He was quiet and shy. His teacher says he rarely spoke up in class.
He didn't show any particular signs of being a leader amongst men.
Yeah, well, he was a shy boy. He wouldn't talk unless he needed to. He would listen more.
Honey, do you have the...
Matches! You should have gotten 40 kilometers back at the general store. $2.
This nondescript middle-class Jeddah neighborhood is where Batarfi, then aged 12, and bin Laden, 3 years older, became neighbors and best friends, going to the mosque together, playing together, watching TV together. Among their favorite shows, American westerns and Bruce Lee movies.
He would watch cowboys movies, karate movies, things that, action movies.
Batarfi took us to the field where he and bin Laden played soccer as teenagers.
And just looking at bring a lot of memories. And I enjoyed being a captain, really.
Led by CBC News.
But I would tell him what to do, and he was a good soldier. He would follow orders. Usually, because he was taller than most of us and older, he would play in the front, because this way he could use his head to, score.
Batarfi says the teenage Osama would usually take the high road. He remembers a time his friend was being bullied.
So I went running to the guy, and I pushed him away from Osama and solved the problem this way. But then Osama came to me and said, if...
September 11th, 2001 dawned bright and clear in New York City as an estimated 50,000 people made their way to work at the World Trade Center. It was a beautiful day too in Boston, where American Airlines Flight 11 took off from Logan Airport at 7:59 a.m. United Airlines Flight 175 took off from the same airport just 15 minutes later. At that exact moment, 8:14 a.m., the Al-Qaeda hijackers took control of the first plane, American 11. The first notification of the hijacking came from flight attendant Betty Ong, who phoned in the news to American Airlines at 8:19.
Okay, my name is Betty Ong. I'm number 3 on flight 11.
Okay.
And the cockpit is not answering their phone. And there's somebody staffed in business class, and we can't breathe in business class. Somebody's got mace or something. We can't breathe. I don't know. I think we're getting hijacked.
On September 11th, the United States had a series of protocols for how to handle an airplane hijacking and involved the U.S. military. The system failed at almost every turn. Here was the first failure. The U.S. military would not hear about this hijacking for 18 crucial minutes. Civilian air traffic controllers found out about the hijacking when they first heard the voice of Al-Qaeda pilot Mohammed Atta in control of American 11 at 8:24 a.m.
We have some planes, just stay quiet and we'll be okay. We're returning to the airport. Nobody move. Everything will be okay. If you try to make any move, you'll danger yourself and the airplane. Just stay quiet.
At 8:27 a.m., American 11 made a sharp turn to the south, heading for New York City. It took another 10 minutes before air traffic controllers in Boston finally notified the military. The Northeast Air Defense Sector in Rome, New York, happened to be in the middle of an exercise.
Hi, Boston Center, Team U. We have a problem here. We have a hijacked aircraft headed towards New York, and we need you guys we need someone to scramble some F-16s or something up there to help us out.
Is this real world or exercise?
No, this is not an exercise manifest.
The U.S. military immediately called on the nearest fighter pilots to help out. At Otis Air Force Base in Cape Cod, Timothy Duffy and Daniel Nash were on call.
We got a phone call at 8:37, gave us a heads up that there was a possible hijacking.
I had a radio, or brick, in my pocket, so I said Alpha Kilo 1 and 2 suit up. So that was for me and Nasty to go throw on our G suits and grab our helmets and harnesses and all that. The horn goes off, lights go off, and we start going through the scramble procedures.
It took several key minutes for the pilots to get into their jets. On the tarmac, a supervisor briefed them on the target.
He filled me in on where we were as far as the American flight, being a 767 on its way to California. It was a suspected hijack, and he said, looks like the real thing, go.
In the next few minutes, hijackers took control of the second plane, United 175, and turned it towards New York City. The Air Traffic Control Command Center in Herndon, Virginia, was still looking for the first hijacked plane. Operations Manager Ben Sliney.
While we were trying to locate Flight 11, American 11, the last report I had was some 30 miles north of New York City. New York Center was asking planes to look for it and couldn't see it, and I figured we'd try to get the people on the ground, the towers in the area, the police departments, anyone we could get to give us some information on where this flight was.
At 8:46 a.m., American 11 came in low over New York City and hit the North Tower of the World Trade Center.
Oh, shit!
The fighter jets from Otis Air Force Base were not even in the area. They were only able to take off 7 minutes later. It would take them 32 minutes to reach New York.
They're heading right down Long Island, basically, just offset a little bit over the water. And I just left it in full afterburner the whole way, trying to get there as quick as I could. But we had no idea what was going on.
Just in, you were looking at obviously a very disturbing live shot there. That is the World Trade Center, and we have unconfirmed reports this morning that a plane has crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center. CNN Center right now is
just 3 minutes after impact. CNN was broadcasting video of the hole in the North Tower.
Clearly something.
There was speculation it was a small private aircraft.
The south end of the island of Manhattan.
No small plane would bounce off that building, and you know, those buildings are just not in any flight path. In other words, it would be on a clear, sparkling blue sky day. It's inconceivable that someone would run into the building. My eyes are seeing one thing, and my brain is saying, well, that can't be true.
It was only at 8:55 a.m. that New York Air Traffic Control realized that the second aircraft had been hijacked. They phoned in a warning to the Air Traffic Control Command Center. Confusion reigned.
Yeah, several situations are going on here. It's escalating big time. And we need to get the military involved with this. We're involved with something else. We have other aircraft that may have a similar situation going on here.
The responsibility to notify the military of what was going on in the skies on September 11th belonged to FAA headquarters in Washington, D.C.
I do know that all the information was being relayed to headquarters, and at least as far as we were concerned, It should have been, and we thought it had been given to the military at each juncture.
As it turned out, precious minutes would go by before anyone called the military about the second hijacked plane. New York air traffic controllers were busy tracking United 175 as it lost altitude and circled New York.
I'm just out at 9,500, 9,000 now. Do you know who he is? We don't know who he is. We're just picking him up now. All right, heads up, man. It looks like another one. All right.
We knew that the aircraft was rapidly approaching New York City from New York Center, that it was diving and coming fast towards the city. That much we knew. Beyond that, it happened within a minute or two. I think it was all over.
The military only learned about the second hijacked aircraft at the very moment it crashed into the south tower of the World Trade Center at 9:03 a.m. The nearest jet fighters were still a long way off.
I guess we were probably about 60 miles out, 70 miles out from Manhattan, and that's when they came back and said the second aircraft just hit the World Trade Center. Obviously, that was a shock to me because I thought there was only one. There wasn't a cloud in the sky, and it was probably better than 100 miles visibility, so from where we were, you could see everything very, very clearly. You could see both buildings burning.
Officers at the Northeast Air Defense Sector had still not heard from FAA headquarters. At 9:08 a.m., Mission Crew Commander Kevin Nasipany began improvising the air defense of North America.
This is what I foresee that we probably need to do. We need to talk to FAA. We need to tell them if this stuff's going to keep on going, we need to take those fighters, put them over Manhattan. That's the best thing. That's the best play right now.
There were a lot of things going through my mind, whether I was going to have to force aircraft down, was I was going to have to shoot it down. My whole goal is to stop what was happening.
People lose track of how much chaos there was. We were in a situation that was just a mess, you know, and we were trying to get our arms around it a little bit.
The chaos on 9/11 was not just in the sky. Some of the worst confusion was around the president.
These people are jumping to their deaths.
Muslim Brotherhood was born in Egypt, and again, bin Laden is influenced by Egyptian ideas, Egyptian political organizations, and Egyptian people. And they tend to move him in a more radical and militant direction over time.
This man, Sayed Qutb, was an inspiration for the Muslim Brotherhood. He was executed in 1966 for what many believe was a trumped-up charge of attempting to overthrow the Egyptian government. His book, Milestones, was must-reading for jihadists, and still is today. It challenges the long-accepted belief that holy war should only be waged in response to an attack. Qutb justifies something new, holy war that attacks the enemy first.
All of these things are now coming together for bin Laden. The Islamic awakening, the fact that he's joined the Muslim Brotherhood, the fact that he's reading Sayyid Qutb, and these are politicizing him and giving him the idea that we need to create more perfect Islamic states around the Muslim world.
1979 would be a critical year for the Islamic awakening. The Ayatollah Khomeini overthrew the Shah of Iran. Americans were taken hostage at the US Embassy. Muslim militants around the world were electrified. That same year, the Grand Mosque in Mecca, the holiest of sites, became a battleground when militants seized it and the Saudi government sent in troops. Osama bin Laden was appalled that such a holy place had been defiled. And then, 1 month later, the final blow. The Soviet Union, godless and communist, invaded Afghanistan, a Muslim country. It was an affront to Islam. 1 year, 3 monumental events that would change bin Laden forever. The once shy, religious boy was about to answer the call to a violent jihad. and he would never